All right, let's get to the real
That's
news.
been the question. We don't know if they've located the subject, the suspect. The latest update from police, which came about 27 minutes ago, half hour ago, noted that there had been no shots fired since the initiation.
I wonder if what the fuck? I wonder if your body language, like and not limited to your head and upper torso movement, left, right, and tongue, lips, and uncontrolled like movement are a part of your personality, or you require that as you got money and you're trying to make it look like you're an important and act like a bad guy. I just wonder, did you have this don't give a shit, I'm cool attitude as a kid, or came with money? Sorry, it's an old copy pasta. Don't hurt me. Jesus Christ.
Of the shooting. What police have not said is whether they're making any progress as to the suspect's current location. Ryan Young, he's been on the ground. He's been talking to police sources. Ryan, tell us what's the latest you've learned.
Yeah, I was talking to some sources, and of course, they were just sort of going through what the next steps are. And so as I'm sitting here talking to you now, I'm getting several text messages from police officers in the area. They say right now they don't have him located in terms of the situation, but they could be in this several blocks area, and so that's why they're keeping this hard perimeter. That's what has been sent to me at this point. Of course, as we work through this, of course, everyone's trying to figure out exactly what the next steps will be. And
I'm gonna go
again,
pee real quick.
What they are being cautious about is nobody wants to give up too much information, as this person could be watching television, and or, you know, hey, we live in a new world. They could be streaming on their phone. And so, you know, they asked us to move back several different times. As you see, we are at the tape line right here, and the police have set up the perimeter. So, of course, we can't go past this perimeter, and it's set up that way all the way around this like 4 or 5 block area that they're making sure they have locked down. So they set that up. Obviously, there's certain points where you can get a camera into and see a little further down, but also we're being cautious. I don't know if they cleared the airspace just yet, but again, you have to start wondering in a situation like this one, whether the person who's involved in this is streaming from their phone or listening to the continuing coverage to figure out exactly what's going on. So that's all a part of this, as at least they were able to neutralize or stop the fact of the shooting going on in Midtown at this point.
And back because we heard it's an active shooter.
We just saw.
I thought no live regarding shootings. The only thing we do whenever there's a breaking news situation is cover whatever the facts news reporters have actually gathered. And we do it in an effort to combat misinformation that is being spread. Haven't seen too much misinformation being spread about this particular shooting thus far. There's also... It's just like there are so many fucking shootings. So I feel like people I feel like people basically can't keep up with all the shootings that are going on in their immediate vicinity. So they just like hyper focus on they just latch on to whichever shooting they can. They're like, oh man, oh, we got one. This is the shooting that we're going to say is like a trans person or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like.
A lot of Atlanta police officers with long guns just jumped into a car, and you were telling me this is very much active. You told me that they're looking for this shooter. I mean, to watch this play out in real time, what is this like for you?
You know, it's just, I can't describe it right now. I just really can't describe it. It's just crazy.
This is not even a mass shooting. This is just an active shooting, which is what makes it unique, I guess.
It's really crazy.
Are you nervous, scared? Do you?
I mean, I called a couple of my family members like, hey, it's an active shooter in the city. If anything happened to me, I just want y'all to know that I can't get back into the building, and I'm out here really in the streets, and they're telling me that I just have to keep moving and keep moving backwards and backwards from my actual original location. So it's just tough right now. I can't get back to work.
Them pushing us back, how much does that suggest to you? Expanding their perimeter.
It's really, that's dangerous. Let me know that the situation is not something that can be taken lightly. They're definitely taking all the precautions that they can by pushing us this far back. And it just makes me wonder, where is he? It could be any one of us.
Mass shootings at this point, or like active shootings, are in America. They're basically like snow days for adults. You know what I mean? Except instead of it like, you know, hailing outside, or you can go out and like play in the fucking snow as a child, I guess you have to duck and cover, which is good physical activity when you think about it. So yeah, pretty much the same. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, adult snow day, yay! Not going to shoot it, not going to the shooting gallery. Sorry, yay! It's like a snow day, but it's hailing bullets.
Not any one of us, but it could be anybody out here right now, and we don't really know who's the shooter.
Sir, someone is definitely going to misconstrue this one, brother. What does that even, how do you misconstrue that? Do you look at that and go, wow, Hasan is pro mass shootings? Like, you have to be, I know that I have a lot of unhinged haters out there, but like, I don't know how they can make that messaging stick. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Hasan, very famously pro more mass shootings. Like, what?
Whereabouts?
Sir, we were just obviously just talking off camera. You're live right now on Channel 2 Action News. I'm glad you're okay. I know you were talking about that you're just trying to catch your breath now, but again, can you just take us through what just unfolded?
I work in the building right next to where the shooting took place, and I was going on my lunch break. I was crossing over to go into Whole Foods, and all of a sudden they was pushing us out of the building, pushing us further back into the streets, telling us to get away from the building where the active shooter were at, and just telling us to get back. It's a shooter, it's an active shooter, and we don't even know who the shooter is and where the shooter at right now. And so it's really, it's really nerve-wracking.
What was the first thing you did, though, when they started saying, active shooter? What do you do?
What could you do? Because I went to start looking up to make sure nobody wasn't hanging a rifle out of one of these windows or anything like that. And I went to put my back against the wall and just trying to do whatever the officers tell us to do at the time.
I don't know if you've seen this yet. Atlanta police released photos of the shooter, the suspected shooter. I don't know if he looks familiar.
Not right offhand. No, not right offhand.
Can you just tell us, though, again, I mean, it's become so common for something like this to happen, but for you to actually be living this and experiencing it, when it all went down, was everybody around you just kind of joining together just to stay?
We was joined together. It's kind of nerve-wracking because the officers just came up to me thinking I was another suspect they was looking for, and I just had to show my ID so they could realize who I was. And so, it's nerve-wracking because I guess they got a little picture of him, but we don't know who he's working with, who's helping him out or anything. So, and they haven't yet caught him, so.
Real quick, anything you want to say to your friends or family that may be trying to get a hold of you, can't reach you?
Just be aware of your surroundings, cooperate with the law, what they ask you to do. Anytime situations like this occur, we just want to all work together and try to avoid getting shot.
Great. Well, wonderful stuff. New saga has reached the interwebs that was briefly brought up in my conversation. I don't know. I didn't know the details of this, but apparently in New York City, in the subway, a homeless person, a houseless person by the name of Jordan Neely was choked to death for over 15 minutes by a Marine. Are you streaming from your mansion? No, today I'm streaming from your mother's pussy, actually. I'm having sexual intercourse with her. I'm inside of her back walls currently. This should come as no surprise to you. You already know that I'm inside of your mom every night. And maybe you will recognize the inner walls of what you came out of. So that's where I'm streaming from. Do you like it? It's pretty cavernous, pretty cozy in here. It's neat. Great. Look, I'm tickling her. Tickle, tickle, tickle. She's about to have a massive and very public orgasm at the LA Philharmonic. Yes, I'm going to give her a child she won't be ashamed of. I'm about to Philharmonic till she vibrato. Fucking got him. Anyway, we'll cover this in a second. Apparently, this is apparently the main story that the right wing circles are hitting, saying that this was totally a just circumstance of someone taking matters in their own hands, not entirely aware of the actions that took place before in the lead up to a 15-minute choke slam session that ended up executing this person. So how are the pH levels? Pretty good. Did that guy respond after I said I was inside of his mother's walls? Because he's not going to be able to hear the things that I'm about to say next, because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And I'm pretty sure he's not subscribed, which means he won't be able to hear this. He'll be seeing the 3-minute ad break instead, unless he subscribes for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting his Amazon Prime account, maybe his mom's Amazon Prime account, to his Twitch account. He can also get gifted a sub if he's lucky, but only good boys and girls get gifted a sub, let's be real. However, I digress. The 3-minute ad break is upon us regardless. Here it is. This Queeks clip is how people think you low-key are.
You're in your own britches.
But like, I want to stay relatable to as many people I can. Because
Can I tell a story of when we had dinner the other day?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we have dinner the other day. This guy, he's being such a dick to the service staff. Waiter comes over. He gives us waters. And as he's walking away, Squeaks is like, "Hey, does anything have peanuts in it?" Like, bro, relax, right? He's just doing his job. And the guy's like, "Oh, I don't know. I'll check." Comes back. He's like, "I don't think there's any peanuts." And he's like, "Can you double check to make sure?" It's like, bro, just eat a fucking peanut. Like, stop making a big deal out of it. He's like really stressing this guy out.
No, that's not true at all. Ludwig, I was the one who was so kind and polite to all the service people. Ludwig, on the other hand, was like, "Oh my god, you guys work at a service place?" And he started laughing at them and just straight up, like, eating his money. It was disgusting.
I wouldn't eat my money.
No,
That'd
me
be
neither.
weird to do.
I commute 25 minutes on the subway every day. This is a daily occurrence at this rate. You can literally ignore these homeless people and they will leave you alone. The Marine wanted to play hero and is being celebrated because he killed a black dude. Pathetic. Yeah, I don't know what the exact details are. There were 3 people actively involved in Jordan Neely's murder. I think this is the thread. Okay. I love him eating sugar money. If he did that, it would be on Twitter in an hour. Yes, because as you know, you can never be charitable to people that you perceive as like your ideological opponents on the internet, and also women, which many people consider to be ideological opponents to them. Isaiah is 35. Thank you for the 5 get the subs. Geophorio, thank you for the 5 get the subs. And Knife Emoji, thank you for the 5 get the subs, allowing 15 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour, by the way. This was Jordan Neely. So what is the video? This isn't the video, I suspect. This is the guy who got murdered. This is Jordan Neely, a hungry New Yorker choked to death by a grinning Marine who is being celebrated as a hero by NYPD and press. His offense, aggressive speech, throwing his jacket on the ground and asking for food and water. Apparently there will be a vigil as well. I don't know what the shocking video shows New York City subway passenger putting unhinged man in deadly chokehold. The original title, by the way, which is the New York Post, the most insane right-wing drab of all time, was shocking video shows vagrant being choked to death on New York City subway. Vagrant. Whenever I hear that term, when they're referencing human beings, I immediately know. The New York Times is using passive voice reporting on a vigilante choking out a homeless guy. Yeah, because remember what I told you? That, like, it's not just the cops that have lethal capabilities now. It's every average American. Like, the average American, especially on depending on who their victim is, also has the same level of lack of accountability. The same lack of accountability that the average cop has when it comes to killing people, especially if it's an unhoused person. If it's a human being that is homeless, then, you know, that's how it works. I don't want to show you the footage of it, but a homeless black man, Jordan Neely, who was 30 years old, was screaming that he was hungry, had no food, threw his jacket down on the train, and the blonde guy decided to choke him for 15 minutes for no reason. EMS could not revive Neely. No charges have been filed. And the passengers on the train, including the person shooting the video, said the man did not physically attack anyone before he was taken down. Jordan Neely was homeless, tired, suffering, hungry, and unable to defend himself from a violent chokehold which led to his death. His murderer walked out of the police station with no charges. The New York Post is sanitizing white murderers and turning them into good Samaritans. Now, here's the thing. Per ABC7, the 24-year-old Marine who had 2 deployments and knows some MMA moves admitted to the police that he wasn't threatened by Jordan Neely, but he came up from behind him and put him in a chokehold for 15 minutes. Okay? Video shows a strap hanger. What is a strap hanger? Dramatic new video shows a strap hanger taking matters into his own hands, pinning down an unhinged man in a deadly incident on a Manhattan subway station this week. A subway rider is called a strap hanger? I had never heard that before. Adam Server with a rare good take? No, Adam Server actually does have really good takes on certain issues. If a homeless man makes me uncomfortable, the sentence is death is the kind of public argument that people should be embarrassed to make in public, except no, they're not. I saw a guy overdose on the train last week. A homeless guy on the subway tried to attack my wife on her way to work just a few months ago, thrusting a pointed umbrella at her. There was no one around. There's obvious social disillusion going on, and no one seems to know what to do. You're going to be sanctimonious when people start defending themselves and others, no matter how ill-advised. So here's the problem, okay? I don't know if those stories are fake. But like, it's a very common experience, okay? Because we have decided that, like, we are going to make the housing market unmanageable, and we are not going to provide any solutions to people who are literally living outdoors and braving the fucking elements for years on end, and that trauma and the assault and the sexual harassment that happens to them, and the possible drug usage that you engage in an effort to self-medicate that fries your fucking brain over the course of many, many years, basically turns you into a walking, living, breathing fucking zombie. And then the government doesn't do anything to interfere in the process other than violent police action. And even then, that's not always the fucking case, right? Which is not necessarily a bad thing that that's not always the case, that it doesn't happen regularly. Like, intervention happens not often, but when it does, it's incredibly violent. Okay, so do not misunderstand what I'm saying here. Okay? And then we are just like leaving matters into the hands of like random fucking vigilantes. It's great. Wonderful. Very cool. This is going to keep happening. It's going to happen more frequently, as a matter of fact. And yeah, what's the expectation here? Now, having said this, is it also normal? Is it normal and good and perfectly reasonable to just like, I don't know, have to constantly, especially if you're like a smaller person, you know what I mean? Or, you know, someone who does not have the capability to defend themselves, someone that's not very confident in their physical ability, to like literally sit there and be like, okay, I don't know if I have to fucking dodge someone who's like screaming at me who might like actually fucking assault me. No, of course not. I'm sorry. That is not normal. Okay? It's not normal. The government has to do something about it. That's why we fucking pay taxes, man. That's why. It's ridiculous that we have criminalized homeless people. We have criminalized existence in this goddamn country. We do nothing to solve it. And then we just like basically leave matters into the hands of the people. And because the cops are also fucking dog shit at their jobs in general too, and only engage in like incredibly violent fucking ways, and usually not at all because, you know, their feelings are hurt, I think, or something, or they're not getting paid enough. Like $8 million a day is not enough for the LAPD as far as funds goes. You know what I mean? That like now people are just going, I'm going to take matters in my own hands. Okay? Great. Awesome. Now the Manhattan DA's office is investigating after Jordan Neely dies following a subway chokehold incident. It's like, brother, this is, why are you talking like a cop did this? You want to know why? That's deliberate. That's by design. Because cops are doing the blue flu shit. So now it's like up to the fucking citizens to also enact in the same exact violent, psychotic fucking ways. Okay? So now the media is doing the same fucking defense for like random vigilante people, as long as like the victims are black and homeless, that they would have done for the cops.
Try to explain to people that what I find so
Here's Olayemi's take on it.
Incredibly frustrating about New York City is that it paints itself like it's this big, diverse, progressive city. Like, oh, it's a blue state. Oh, the liberals. Meanwhile, I have never seen the level of disparity and dehumanization between different populations of people in my life. Like, just think about this. And this is something I know as both just a...
Same goes for California, too. Los Angeles is the same way with their mistreatment of homeless people. Like, they're fucking... you know, not human beings. Okay? Part of that is because the media is constantly fucking hamming on this narrative. Another part of that is, and I, you know, people get fucking mad at me sometimes when I mention this, but another part of that is because, like, yeah, if you're living in a fucking big city and you're constantly seeing people on the sidewalk just like roll up on you and fucking yell at you and shit, I avoid it. It doesn't matter to me, but I'm a big fucking dude. I get why some people might be scared. I mean, look, for me in particular, I've talked about this before. There's a dude that loves jerking off, okay? There's a dude that literally loves jerking off, whipping his cock out and masturbating furiously, okay? For me, it's whatever. What the fuck's he gonna do? You know what I mean? I just, you know, when I'm walking around my house, it's one thing. But I also don't feel all that safe if it's my mom walking around. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's crazy. Like, stop making a joke about gooning or whatever. In a normal society, okay, that person should be getting the proper one. That person should be jerking off in a house and not outside in a fucking sidewalk. And in a normal society, that person would be getting help for the very clear, obvious mental disabilities that he has, like the litany of fucking mental disabilities he has. That dude also tries to literally fucking break into my house, okay? Every now and then. I know. It's in front of my house. Yeah, I know. He will randomly at like 6 a.m. show up on my fucking cameras trying to break into the house. I don't know what he's going to do if he breaks into the house. It's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. I can deal with it on my own. But like, you know, it's just like, it's not good that this is happening. It's not. It is an abject failure of the systems that we exist under, that like a dude is doing this shit. Okay? My immediate solution to this problem, of course, isn't like kill the guy or isn't like call the police so they come and kill the guy. You know what I mean? I'm not going to outsource the violence of the police force. But the reality is that like this is a very, are you making this up? You think I'm making this up? Do you live in fucking Ohio, in bumfuck Ohio, where you don't have any neighbors? No, man. Of course I'm not making this shit up. Are you fucking stupid? One, I've talked about this before. And two, literally, like, this is a very normal thing that happens in cities all the fucking time now. If you live in a fucking big city, you're going to have dudes jerking off, okay? It's not as bad or as psychotic or as dangerous as the way that, like, dumbasses fucking make it seem, like when they live in red states, especially when they make it seem like, you know, the outside of my fucking house is like goddamn war zone or whatever. You know what I mean? They always do that. They always make it seem like, you know, people are getting fucking stabbed left and right. No, stabbings do happen. Of course it happens. You know, it's a part of living in in a big, dense urban environment. You know what I mean? It's not a fucking battlefield. And you learn how to deal with it, except you shouldn't have to deal with it. And especially when, it's not great when things do end up becoming a very real problem. Okay? But that's pretty bad. I mean, I think objectively speaking, that's pretty bad. In a normal society, that person will be getting the fucking help he needs. Okay? We don't live in a normal society, though. So when that shit is happening and you see it in the media all the fucking time, no matter how woke you are, no matter how liberal you are, okay, and plenty of people claim that they're liberal, but they're not really even liberal when it comes to this kind of thing, they get like incredibly fucking violent. And I've heard liberals say the most like blood-boiling shit as it pertains to like homeless people, calling them fucking vagrants and all this shit. Why don't you help this guy then? Are you fucking stupid? Am I a professional? Do you think I have any professional capabilities of like helping out a person who is trying to masturbate furiously? Are you fucking dumb? The expectation should not be placed upon random fucking citizens to be like, all right, I guess I'm a social worker now. Let me go fucking help him, get his nut off. But you got money. Bro, what do you mean? Do I throw money at him? What are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. The only thing that a rich person in that regard could do is literally call the cops. And I don't do it because I don't want the fuck cops to come and kill him, okay? You fucking idiot. Shut the fuck up. That's what happens. There's no like, oh, let me call a fucking social worker up and like come help out. Like let me fucking dial a social worker immediately. There's no like situation where I can do that. I mean, nothing wrong with donating to the right groups, though. I do that. It doesn't matter, okay? There is no right group that is like, help exclusively the homeless people outside of Hassan's house fund, okay? That's not a thing. I do that already. Shut the fuck up. And guess what, dude? And this is you and your dad, too. Probably if you have takes like this, you're probably not old enough yet. But you and your family members already are throwing money at the problem. It's just that money is never reaching the point where it would actually help alleviate that problem. It just goes directly into the fucking pockets of cops. So, do you understand? Do you get it? Like, I already pay more than you would ever fucking be expected to pay for the rest of your goddamn life with respect to, dealing with these issues. I wanted to go to housing measures, which I vote for, okay, in ballot measures that I vote for and advocate for and push for, okay, as a political commentator. But the unfortunate reality is that it doesn't go there. It never ends up in that regard. And again, you're forgetting that the main point of contention here is that this is a systemic problem. It's not supposed to be dealt with by individuals, okay? That's the issue. It's not supposed to be dealt with by like random individuals who are, feeling kind in that moment or feeling insanely violent in that moment and express their violent desires and urges in the way that this guy did, okay? Whenever we talk about systemic solutions to systemic failures, every Americanoid turns around and goes, individually fix it. Individually fix the systems. What the fuck's wrong with you? Individually do your part, dumbass. Like, I already do my part and then some. I both do my part in the form of taxes that I pay. I also do my part in the form of mutual aid and charities that I also give money to. I do my part a million times over, but there's so much you can do as an individual, which is why I always say charity is only a Band-Aid solution. Mutual aid is only a Band-Aid solution. Okay? It is such a weird fucking argument to engage in, to be like, dude, why aren't you personally housing every homeless person? And the less we fucking deal with it, and the more we got like stupid people going, dude, what do you mean? Like, there are two sides of this story, as there is in every fucking story. But this one is especially frustrating because anytime something like this pops off on like Twitter or anywhere else, you have the one side that's like, they need to be executed, okay? Fucking melt them in the biomatter. And then you have the other side that's like, what? You have a problem with someone doing crack on a fucking subway? On the subway? You have a problem with someone fucking yelling or hurling a doo-doo caca? Fuck you, dude. Life in the big city, baby. It's like, no. Like, that's insane. The expectation that, like, that is normal is insane. You sound like an insane person. I suspect you are not living in a big city if you say shit like that. It's like two sides of this, not the same coin, because one is at least like on a more like moral, on a more like empathetic fucking ground, but it's still fucked up. It's insane. Motherfuckers are like, I hate sex offenders, unless they're like literally homeless, in which case then that's okay, Come on. I have empathy. And I want to do the right thing.
Black person running around New York and as a public defender. You will get arrested at the subway station if they perceive you as jumping through the turnstile, annoying somebody on the train. Like, look at the way that they characterize a homeless man with mental health issues because he is acting erratic. That justifies somebody murdering him. Meanwhile, you as a black person couldn't so much as jump on that train for free and let NYPD see you without being arrested. Same subway stations where they
Who on the left is saying let them throw their poop around Lamau? I mean, dude, these are outspoken Twitter users, which are like irrelevant in the greater point of contention, which is why I rarely ever mention it. But are you fucking joking? If you've been on Twitter, there's hella anarchists. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's so many like shit libs, rad libs, anarchists that are extremely online and never go outside. So they always like. They always behave like that's like normal. You know what I mean? Anyway.
They put 1,000 new police officers in the subway station to harass and terrorize the homeless people. Then, once they took them out the subway, they put more police officers on the street to tear up their encampments and harass them there, right? These are the subway stations where homeless people can't even be seen. They can't even stand, talk, do regular, lay down on the subway without being harassed by NYPD. But a white person could walk into that subway station, get on that subway train, and put a black man in a chokehold for 15 minutes and kill him and walk past NYPD and go home and have the New York Post and the New York Times.
You know what's crazy about it? If a cop did that, that cop would not be as celebrated, I think. Because like the expectation is that they're trained to the expectation, which is not the reality, is that like he's supposed to be fucking trained. So like doing that is like completely fucking unhinged, right? Like, sure, there will still be people celebrating it, people going, oh, dude, that's awesome. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is a vagrant that was dealt with, obviously. But because it's a human vigilante, like a normie, a civilian, people are like, oh, I wish that was me in that situation. Because that same thing happens whenever I talk about like issues that pertain to like existing in public spaces, and chat chirps about like their own personal PTSD that they have. Everyone has, like, if they lived in a big city, or even if they didn't live in a fucking big city, if they are perceiving what a big city looks like, and how fucking violent and how crazy it is, they have this like built-in trauma response where they're not thinking about the individual that, or the confines of that actual incident where like someone was choked to death for 15 fucking minutes. They're thinking about like what they would do in a situation like where they believe that someone is like harassing them or terrifying them. Okay?
And everybody celebrated. This is the same city where black people, where homeless people, where people with mental health issues get harassed and arrested for, but you could kill those homeless people and go home free. This is a sick world. I feel like that needs to be emphasized in a crazy way. It's not just the fact that you could clearly see the media transparently and boldly painting the killer as a hero while they dehumanize the homeless man, right? No. That's not sufficient, right? It's not enough to notice that. It's not enough to notice how everybody in their comments is so excited to see a black man have his life snuffed out. It's not enough to point out the fact that the reason why the police let this white man go is because that white man is acting consistent with the police. Normally it would be the police who would put that man in a chokehold and kill them, but they are so grateful to have that white man take it off their hands and do it themselves. But it's not enough for that. For me, what you really need to point out is the fact that it could happen at all. That in the same fucking progressive city, the same liberal blue state, whatever it is, a homeless person could not be in that subway, cannot be on that same subway without having them acting erratic, painted as criminal activity, but the man who killed him isn't painted as a fucking criminal. Ain't that something? Yeah. And it's bad enough that I'm sitting there trying to wrap my head around why Jordan Neely is dead. Why we live in a society, in a world that has such a disparity for black people versus for white people, for rich people versus for poor people. If it weren't enough trying to come to terms with the level of a police state that we live in, I look at Jordan Neely and I realize I fucking know this guy. I see the video of him performing in the subway and I'm like, one of my best friends at Legal Aid, one of my other favorite public defenders, has represented him for years. I know this because I remember showing me the videos of him performing in the subway and talking about how his mother had been killed and how that had deteriorated his mental health, and he cannot get mental health resources. But what he can get done is thrown in and out of criminal court. This is America, son.
He was also like a famous subway performer as well. He was a Michael Jackson impersonator with a loving fan base who documented his performance over the course of the years. If you rode the subway in the last 10 years and stumbled into a spry, joyful MJ, it was likely Neely. A year and a half ago, his fans noticed his absence. He's currently missing in New York, and now he's 28 or 29 years old. But he's an amazing impersonator of Michael Jackson, and he's so cute. And I don't want to end his talent. He will come back. I believe that he will rise again and come back to us. If you know him, please pass this channel on to him. I will support him until that time comes. Please help us. The more people who subscribe to the channel, the more he will be known. Jordan Neely, I love you so much. This is from a year and a half ago. On January 2022, a fan uploaded a video of him and asked, where is he currently? And in February 2022 above, captioned, he's currently missing in New York. I believe he'll come back again. Like, but here's the thing. He shouldn't be, like, we shouldn't expect someone to be a beloved performer in the New York subway lines for you to, like, assume humanity in them. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. And even then, no one gives a shit. No one fucking believes that there is any empathy passed on to the victim in this regard because the victim is homeless.
Putting another passenger in a chokehold. That passenger was then taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. CBS 2's Nia Maldonado brings us the latest from Soho, and we want to warn you the images may be difficult to watch for some.
In these video screen grabs, you can see one subway rider holding another rider around the neck, the hold lasting nearly 3 minutes. Police sources tell us the person who eventually fell unconscious is a 30-year-old homeless man who had been allegedly throwing trash and yelling at passengers. Sources say things turned physical when a 24-year-old former Marine from Queens tried to subdue him, while also telling others to call 911.
It's an unfortunate situation, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, we all want to feel safe.
The video was 3 minutes. Whole thing was 15. Oh, okay. So the 15 minutes was how long EMT took to get there?
2 other riders are seen as well trying to restrain the 30-year-old's arms before he's let go, lifeless on the ground. The incident took place on the F train at the East Houston and Lafayette Street station in Soho Monday. Wednesday morning, we spoke to subway riders, many calling the outcome unfortunate.
I don't think anyone should die or anything like that. That's kind of crazy, but I mean, I guess it's like a problem that needs to be fixed.
See, this is the reason why this is the average citizen's fucking perspective is literally because they are not thinking about the incident that took place. They are conditioned into thinking that the homeless person is not human. And on top of that, they themselves probably have an experience where they were fucking scared themselves in a situation where they're like, oh, I don't know what the fuck to do. This is what happens, okay? If you expect every single person to behave like you do in the endlessly empathetic ways. If you expect everyone to be like me, for example, and not call the cops on a dude who's like a serial fucking masturbator outside of your house, for example, you're not going to get too far. That's not going to happen. The average person sees that shit and goes, holy fuck, someone's got to do something about it. But unfortunately, the media doesn't do its job and talk about the systemic failures as to why this happens all the fucking time and why there's no solution to it. So then they become more and more reactionary, more and more fucking violent. Okay? That's it. That's the real problem here. Like everyone is responsible for this, okay? But I want to be as sane and as normal about this issue as possible. This is an instance where someone was literally fucking murdered. They were hungry, they were starving, they needed food and water, they were in a state of mental distress, and they were murdered for being a fucking nuisance. And the reason why so many will justify it, or so many will at least overlook it, is because they themselves have had a situation where they literally got, they were put in a similar condition where they were scared. Okay?
As far as the homelessness.
And acknowledging the danger at hand.
It's unfortunate that he died, don't get me wrong. The NYP doesn't really have that many officers, or at least to my knowledge. You can't have an officer on each train car all the time.
Police say when they arrived, the 30-year-old was taken to Lenox Hill Healthplex where he was pronounced dead. Police sources tell CBS 2 the man had more.
People saying, what? What the fuck? Don't understand. Dude. What I personally think about this horrifying fucking instance is entirely separate from why people are literally behaving like this. If you don't understand why people are reacting this way to a literal fucking murder, you are failing to understand what the average citizen's perspective is on the homelessness issue, and you will always fall short of trying to cater your messaging directly towards an audience that does not see homeless people as human beings. You can't write off every fucking normal human that you see on the street and assume that they're violent, unhinged fascists because of their lack of care in this regard. Yes, they are behaving in a way that is consistent with those principles. But the reason why they are so desensitized to this level of violence is obviously an issue that contains multitudes, right? America has a very violent culture, yada, yada, yada. But for the most part, the reason why they're talking about it like it's, not the worst thing that has happened, and they're just a nuisance that was dealt with, is because they also have a similar experience or something that they have seen on television. They have seen this kind of violence, and they think that this is a terrifying prospect. Okay. Like, you have to understand, nah, normies are 100% fascist. If everyone is fascist, then we're fucked, okay? Then no one is. Then there's no reason to try and, like, deal with it. Then we just live in a fucking fascist dystopia, okay? That's, write off every single person that you've ever talked to then. It's like saying every American is a white supremacist racist. Like, yeah, when you ask them about their individual, like when you ask a random old person their opinions, their most private opinions about black people, they are nearly identical to someone who's like a fucking Klan member, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean that they have like the ideological predisposition that a Klan member has. It's just that they have been conditioned into thinking that. And there needs to be a way to separate that in your mind when you are dealing with people, because normies don't realize, but they can still be convinced otherwise. Okay? It's what so many people were taught. Not everyone's a fascist, but we do live in a complacent and disillusioned dystopia. That's not an exaggeration. Of course. Absolutely. Did you see the threats against you by the Kickstarter? Yes, it's laughable. Please don't take shit like that seriously. Don't be ridiculous. We're covering grown-up news right now, okay?
40 prior arrests, as well as an active warrant stemming from a 2021 felony assault charge. The former Marine was brought in for police questioning, but no charges were filed. Law experts say the situation could be a tough legal argument.
You could only assert as much force as necessary in that particular situation. So was force even necessary?
Most of us are far closer to having a public mental breakdown or being homeless than we are to amassing money and power in society. The fact that we have lost all empathy for people in distress and have replaced it with groundless fear and disgust is unbelievably dark. This is a good take. It's true.
I don't know. We have to see what the investigation unfolds.
The NYPD says its investigation is ongoing as it awaits the official cause of death from the chief medical examiner's office. From Soho, Sania Maldonado, CBS 2 News.
For people saying, how do we react to this situation? I don't know. And guess what? You are not expected to professionally react to a situation where like someone who's having like a mental distress moment and is appearing in a possibly aggressive manner. You shouldn't have to know. Why the fuck do we live in a society in cities and not in fucking caves then, okay? Like, the entire reason why we form societies is so that, like, people with better knowledge of how to deal with these sorts of situations are there to deal with these sort of situations. So we eliminate the likelihood of these sorts of things happening. But I tell you what you shouldn't do. Choke them to fucking death with two other homies, okay? Like, apprehending them in the most violent way possible as they fucking die, okay? That's what you shouldn't do. Honestly. Police sources say Neely, who eventually fell unconscious, is a 30-year-old homeless man who had allegedly been throwing trash and yelling at passengers. Sources say things turned physical when a 24-year-old Marine from Queens tried to subdue him while telling others to call 911. It's an unfortunate situation, but at the same time, we all want to feel safe at some point, one person said. Two other riders could be seen as well trying to restrain Neely's arms before he's let go, apparently lifeless on the ground. Is it right to stop the attackers like being a bystander? Yes. I think that the appropriate thing to do in that situation is like try to not help the fucking person who's choke slamming this guy, but instead stop him from further choking him. Like, I do think that that is the thing that you should be doing. Wild to me that like that's not even a point of contention here, that people are just like justifying it and saying like, no, you don't understand. This is the right thing to do here. Every New Yorker knows just how to avoid those people on the subway and not confront. The National Action Network demands district attorney and police investigate this horrific incident as a potential case of manslaughter, if not murder, Reverend Al Sharpton said. 30 years ago, I fought the Bernard Goetz case, and we cannot end up back in a place where vigilantism is tolerable. Jordan Neely was choked to death by a stranger in the New York City subway while experiencing a mental health crisis. Countless broken systems failed Jordan and led to this moment, including community perceptions of mental illness. We must end the notion that erratic behavior is grounds for a death sentence, State Senator Samara Brooks said. Like so many others, I have questions about what took place and during and before Jordan's mental health crisis. Where were support and outreach teams? Did anyone call 311 or 988? Had Jordan needed food, shelter, and treatment services in the days and weeks before this murder? And most importantly, where was the compassion? These are great questions to ask. Now, let me tell you something. I'm not even kidding, dude. I feel like this is gonna. First, it starts happening to black homeless people. It's gonna start happening to like non-homeless people as well. I mean, it kind of already does. You got road rage incidents. You have situations where like, a 20-year-old white college girl can like roll up into the wrong dude's driveway when they're fucking lost in upstate New York and get blasted from the dude's house. You know what I mean? That's where the fuck we're at. What is this? If he's threatening you and others around you and you feel and your others are in danger, you as a person have every right to do what that guy did, Hasan? Not really. Especially because like that principle applies to cops too, and I don't fucking give them that leeway either. No. Like, if he's like physically actually punching people and you try to subdue them and it happens in that situation, that's a little bit more of a morally gray area where you're like literally stopping them from like physically harming another human being. Okay? But if they're like fucking throwing shit around and very clearly in a state of mental distress, which happens all the fucking time, okay? Which happens all the goddamn time. The perception of threat is not entirely the bar that you can clear for enacting your most violent desires, you know? And for people saying he's just an inconvenience, not a danger, not really. Let's be real. The reality is that if you've ever been on the fucking subway, there are certain cases where the line is blurred between someone who's making you uncomfortable versus someone who is a fucking clear and present danger. I'm sorry. A lot of you fucking look at a situation like that and say, oh, well, he's homeless. He's in a state of mental distress. He was clearly not a danger. But if you see a fucking dude who's like also unhinged, okay, and not homeless, saying fucking insane shit in a similar regard, you immediately go, well, that's an incredibly violent action that threatens the safety and security of every single person there. Let's be fucking real, okay? Like, that is true. That's literally true. You see a person who's not homeless and behaving like that, you understand that that is like a dangerous situation, because it can be, okay? When you're in public, there are situations that are threatening that you can't possibly understand. The expectation upon normal fucking commuters that are going to their shit-ass 9-to-5s or 9-to-9s is not that they are trained to behave like, perfect social workers, okay, that have been trained in dealing with people in a mental health crisis. It is wild that, like, hyper-individualism has gotten to a point in the United States of America where, like, the immediate answer to any fucking problem is, why don't you do it? Why don't you fucking do it yourself? Do it yourself. Well, guess what? 9 times out of 10, that's how they're going to do it, okay? 9 times out of 10, That's the fucking way that, left to their own devices, these psychotic fucking bloodthirsty assholes are going to intervene in this regard. That's what you get for hyper-individualism. I got you a salad, Mom. Okay? You get it? It can literally be dangerous regardless of the person's mental state, bro. That's just humans. That's why you need hours and hours and years of training to de-escalate that situation. I took training on it, and I still feel super uncomfortable doing it. It's hard. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's social workers in this fucking chat that know how to deal with situations like that and de-escalate. And even then, it's like kind of a hard thing to do. You know what I mean? You cannot stop this at the individual level, okay? You have to stop this with systemic solutions. You have to stop this by training a fuckload more social workers. You have to stop this by implementing mental health programs. You have to stop this by making mental health care free, okay? You have to stop this by having a housing first solution, by fixing the broken housing market. There is no way. Other than that, you're always going to have, you live in such a fantasy world when someone is endangering or attacking people, you don't call a psychiatrist or a social worker to evaluate them or investigate the financial situation. You put an end to the threat. It's not rocket science. Yeah, I mean, by the way, a lot of people are acting like that dude was a fucking unhinged animal, right? Like that needed to be put down. You have the safety and security of saying actually unhinged animal style things from the comfort of your mom and dad's Connecticut McMansion. Okay? But what you're saying here is infinitely more animalistic and more violent than what that dude was doing. I don't even know the exact details of what that dude was doing, but this kind of like I'm a warrior mentality, I'm a sheepdog mentality is what fucking wolves do. And you think that that is sick. You think that that's sexy. You're just as much as an animal, if not a way worse fucking animal than anyone having a fucking mental health crisis, because this is you in your most sane moment, okay? This is you in your most sane moment from the comfort of your fucking home. You have fantasized yourself to be like this violent demon when push comes to shove. Do you recognize that? You don't, because you're a fucking dumb idiot. Your brain broken. Okay? That's the point, though. You're a disgusting, vile animal, but no one will treat you as that, as such. Because you have a house, okay? That's the main point of contention here. That guy doesn't, and therefore he deserves to die in your eyes. Like the passengers said that they weren't threatened by this person. You understand? The investigation is ongoing. Authorities waiting on an autopsy. He declined to comment. Vasquez, who was on his way to Yonkers on Monday, said Neely barged into the train at the 2nd Avenue station and quickly began screaming and yelling at riders, prompting many to move away. Video taken later shows the man flailing his arms and legs in an effort to free himself as the strap hanger has him in a headlock and another bystander helps to hold him down on the floor of the subway train. He moved his arms, but he couldn't express anything, Vasquez said of Neely. All he could do was move his arms. Then suddenly he just stopped moving. A person could be heard in the video expressing worry about Neely's well-being off camera. The man who had been helping the strap hanger told Neely down replies that he's not squeezing no more. Then the two let Neely go after a few seconds, leaving him lying on his side on the ground. None of us who were there thought he was in danger of dying, Vasquez said. We all thought he passed out or ran out of air. What do you think happens when that happens? You die. Vasquez said he had mixed feelings about the fatal encounter, particularly since Neely had not physically attacked anyone on the train before he was taken down. There you go. That's like a witness there. He has mixed feelings about the fatal encounter since he said Neely had not physically attacked anyone on the train before he was taken down. I think that in one sense, it's fine that citizens want to jump in and help, but I think that as heroes, we have to use moderation. This would have never happened if the police had shown up within 5 minutes, he added. Then we'd be talking about a true hero. It's complicated. Yeah, no. The reality is that if the police had shown up in 5 minutes, they probably would have done the same shit. Anyway. I've been on the train and seen people go crazy all the time, and everyone just fucking ignores them until you attack a homeless person. You're more unhinged than the homeless guy. 100%. Is the way these psychos talk highly and mighty about when it comes down to it, I'd hornily murder the threat, when we all know if the threat was an actual armed threat, they'd pee themselves and cry for their parents. Their power is only sufficient for marginalized people like homeless people. Yeah. There is a perception of threat that they feel in this regard, but what they fail to recognize within themselves is that if it was a real threat, you would not have the fucking capacity to like spring into action. You know what I mean? Most people don't. And that's the reality. You can only enforce this level of like violence against motherfuckers that are not really a threat. Ultimately, the only person that harmed someone in that process was the Marine. Okay? Seen the same kind of shit go down in San Francisco. The case of Banco Brown, who was gunned down by a security guard and then defended by the DA. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just like, it's just vile. Yeah, we're just like normalizing Kyle Rittenhouse style behavior all around, left and right. It's fucking crazy. I look at a situation like that and I say to myself that this is completely fucking unhinged, and I it's not good. And unless we solve this issue, it's only seemingly going to get worse. But for some weird reason, I can't get others to recognize that reality. I don't know. We're such fucking dramatic hardliners on this. Also, a lot of the people that like think that fancy themselves to be like the vigilante justice bringer in this circumstance, by the way, that means you're just a murderer, are not that far removed from being in the shoes of that homeless person. I know everybody likes to fancy themselves not as like exhausted and exploited proletariat members, but instead as temporarily embarrassed millionaires and billionaires. But like, no, motherfucker, you are significantly closer to being a fucking homeless person that is in a state of mental decay and in a state of mental distress than you are to being that other guy, okay? It's just how it is. Anyway, let's fucking move on. Tucker Carlson's texts have set off alarm